All right, what's going on, guys? So, got the UL out, got the Decepticon out, getting this thing charged up. That boat is waiting on a new motor, new ESC, a completely new setup. Should be absolutely crazy. And believe me, I take no pride in saying this, but this UL19 has taken me probably the better part of a year to get it where it is right now, where I am very happy with it and dialed and tuned. And this boat went from being honestly kind of a headache, kind of frustrating. You know, I would spend some time with it, I'd get frustrated, I'd put it away. I'd come back, I'd say, okay, let's try this and this, right? I'd get frustrated, and that, and almost overnight, almost instantly, this boat became one of my favorites to run. And I'm like, honestly, so into hydroplanes now. It's not even funny. And so I'm going to do a quick video for you guys going through kind of what I've learned with this boat. And I've watched I think just about every UL19 video out there, trying to see who's got a really good running one that I could copy and what I could do. And to be honest, what I noticed on a lot of them is a lot of guys running very hot. A lot of guys running, so I've got this is a 4068 Sonic Wake V2 motor, 1900 kV, and I'm seeing guys running double the power to do the same speeds and pulling a ton of amps. And what I'm seeing is that some guys can get them going really good in a straight line, but then as soon as they put a curved turn fin on it, it'll start, when they try and get up to speed or do big ovals, they'll start to hop and do weird stuff. And so I'm going to go through the strut, turn fin alignment, how to align these things. I've got a brand new OSC motor coming for this. It's the 10-shock one that I guess is a pretty big deal right now. So it's on the way with a small Hydra, which I already have, but I've got another one. And so I'm going to walk you guys through kind of my year of what I found with this boat, how I finally got it to where it's at now. And I'll tell you two things really quick. I'll make this quick. This turn fin has to be perfectly aligned. If you're going to run a curved turn fin, just know that there is zero room for error with angle this way, angle this way, angle, this way, you get the idea. So I've actually had to shim. So inside of here, behind this screw, is a very, very tiny shim, right, to get the fin perfectly zeroed. And then I'm going to show you guys how to tune the fin on a glass surface. Biggest problem with this boat from the factory is the CG. Any hydro guy will tell you CG needs to be as close to the middle of the fin, right? Considering the turn fin is kind of the axis of rotation, needs to be close to the center. A UL, it's going to come like back here, right? Ideally, you can get it like maybe here, right? But that's a big problem with this boat. And so you'll notice on mine, I have to run my packs entirely buried into the sponsons, right? I run my packs here. My packs here, and in order to make CG, I have to have a super lightweight motor. And so that's why this boat's getting that sweet little P-limited motor. You guys will see that as soon as it comes in. But with this boat, keep in mind whatever I'm going to tell you about zeroing everything out, right, and making it like a traditional hydroplane, it is going to like the CG forward. Because unless you can get CG forward, you're going to have to run a bunch of negative angle on your strut to control the nose. And it's not going to like that. That's when you're going to get heat issues, right? Because now you're wasting your thrust. You're wasting your thrust cone to control the nose, when really weight just needs to be moved forward to keep the boat happy. And also for the turn fin, right? Because if your CG is far behind the turn fin, the boat's going to want to tend to slide out, right? Whereas if your CG is in front of the turn fin, the boat is going to want to oversteer, right? It's not going to want to turn in. It's going to want to keep going. And if it's behind, the back's going to want to slide out. So that's why CG needs to be at this fin. fin needs to be zeroed, and I'll roll the next one on the glass table, showing you guys how I did that. What's up, guys? So I had one of my subscribers ask me about the UL19 and specifically the turn fin and the strut adjustment. And so I wanted to show you guys, I've got my UL here on the bench, and I've got, it's probably an echo in this hallway, but I'm here because I'm using this piece of glass. And I use glass because it's more reliable than my quartz countertop or even my MDF board. I mean, this is as good as it gets. So I got these black thumb screws, by the way, which look way better than the factory ones. And you can get those off Amazon. These are actually for a computer. It's 3mm, obviously, and they are black thumb screws. So my buddy turned me on to those. Super cool. Very happy with that. And so I wanted to show you guys how you would set this boat in particular up on the setup board. And so first thing that I'll say is when you take your turn fin and you have it off the boat, you're going to want to find a nice edge and essentially find where the curve starts in the fin. And so you see I've got a black Sharpie mark here. I kind of erased mine, but I've got a black Sharpie mark here, and I ran a line all the way across. And wherever you set your boat up, you're essentially going to have that line be in line with the piece of glass, right? So that's simple enough. Now, where the UL gets a bit tricky is that typically on a hydro, you would set it so that the tub is flat. Now, if you notice on the UL19, the tub is not flat, right? So this portion is flat, and then there's a bit of a relief angle at the back. Let's see if I can get you guys in there. So if you look at my strut, it's going to be hard to see, but my strut right now essentially has some positive angle. And so if you've got a UL19 and it's hopping and it's not happy, this is going to be major key. So right now the boat has a slight upward angle. And the reason is because the boat is actually, this is a flat bottom strut, but the boat isn't actually going to be riding on the bottom of this flat bottom strut. The boat is actually going to ride, in theory, right? It's never perfect. It's going to be hopping around, but the boat in theory is actually riding at the prop center line, right? So if this strut is roughly 9mm, it's actually going to be riding dead nuts center, ideally, at about 4.5mm, right? So somehow we have to rectify this. And so insert my very special shim tool. This is very advanced, very high tech. It's probably going to cost you guys a lot of money. So this is 2 popsicle sticks, 1 popsicle stick broken in half with shrink wrap around it. And you're probably wondering how I got my hands on something so spectacular. And this actually measures 4.5mm. So when you put it up against the strut, if you guys can see this, that's about exactly half the height of the strut. And so what you'll do with this now is this nice little shim, right? You have to account for the height of the strut. So now this nice little shim goes right under your front steps, just like that. And so let me get the other side real quick. All right, so real quick, so this boat is getting brand new motor, brand new ESC, new battery configuration. And so that's what I'm waiting on. It's actually in the mail from Offshore Electrics right now. So anyway, keep in mind, I haven't taken the rudder off, which is how you really want to do this, but this is just to show you guys, right? So now the front end is shimmed on each side, 4.5mm, which is half the height of the strut. And now you can see my strut that was positive is now perfectly neutral. Hope you guys are able to see that. I can't quite get low enough to give you a flat angle, but when you're setting the angle on your fin, keep that in mind, right? Because now the front's higher, it's going to change the angle of your fin. So if you're not shimming the front, that means your fin, let's see here, that means your fin is actually slightly positive, right? And it would mean if you're not shimming the front that you're actually running your strut slightly negative, right? So you think you have a neutral strut and you're actually running negative, right? Which will tend to work okay on ABC props, which is why some of you guys might find that this boat runs good on like a stock prop, like a high rake ABC. And also why when you put an Octura on this boat, which will have some lift, the boat's gonna hop and kick and spit like crazy because now you've got a prop lifting the back end that's also angled down, and so now it's very unhappy. So you can see I try and mark my strut. I've got a black Sharpie line. Whatever you have to do, bend the strut however you want to do it. You essentially want it flat on a hydro, right? You want it flat, and if the nose is lifting, you want CG forward. The forward CG is typically going to be a better way to control the nose than to try and just force it down with angle. It's going to be a lot more efficient, which is also why some of you guys are running ULs with double the power of mine and getting hot. And I mean, this is a 30-inch hydro, you guys. This is supposed to be the most efficient hull design out there outside of a rigger. And so if you're running massive electronics, getting things hot, burning things up, check your setup because there's a good chance you're not running very efficiently. And so this is the Mojo turn fin. Get this angle right. Now you can see this line here and this line here are perfectly in line with the glass countertop. Strut's flat, and that's going to be where you're going to want to set it. Keep in mind, this bottom is not perfectly flat. And so you kind of have the choice whether you want to set it flat here or you want to set it flat here. And as you can see, my strut is rather high up. And so that's the way the boat's designed to run. Keep in mind, yeah, I could get into, the angle of attack on the sponsons and the angle of attack on the wing in the front for the downforce and everything. I don't think that's necessary. Anyway, check your strut, bend it if you have to, neutral your turn fin. You're gonna have a happier boat and you probably will need to push the CG forward. So just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. If you have a UL that's getting hot, that's hopping, that's not happy, that's blowing off, this is a great starting point.